Captain Daeho Kim stood on the bridge of the mining vessel New Busan, watching the morning shift workers head down to the surface of Taeyang River. The planet looked peaceful from orbit, green fields mixed with the silver gleam of the mining facilities. 50,000 people called this place home now. It had taken them 15 years to build something this beautiful. "Captain, we have incoming ships on long-range sensors," said Communications Officer Hye-jin Choi. She was young, maybe 25, fresh from the academy. This was her first deep space assignment. Dae-ho walked over to her station. "How many ships?" 12, no, 15. They're big, sir, much bigger than our cargo haulers. "Any identification signals?" Hye-jin shook her head. "Nothing on any channel. They're not responding to our standard greetings." Dae-ho felt something cold in his stomach. In 30 years of space work, he had never seen unknown ships this far out. The outer colonies were peaceful places. Pirates didn't come this far from the trade routes. "Put me on General Comm." "You're on, Captain." "Unknown vessels, this is Captain Daeho Kim of the civilian mining ship New Busan. You are approaching the Taeyang 4 colony system. Please identify yourselves and state your intentions." Silence. Down. On the planet, Dr. So-young Park was having a good morning. Her research station sat on a hill overlooking the main colony town. She studied the local plants and animals, looking for useful medicines. The work was slow but rewarding. Every week brought new discoveries. Her assistant, Jun-ho, came running into the lab. "Dr. Park, you need to see this." "What is it?" "Ships, big ones, coming in fast." So-young stepped outside. Even without a telescope, she could see them now. Dark shapes against the blue sky, growing larger by the minute. They didn't look like human ships. Human ships were clean and bright. These were angular, aggressive-looking. Back on the New Busan, Daeho tried again. "Unknown vessels, you are entering civilian space. Please respond." The ships were close enough now to see clearly. They were warships, no doubt about it. Massive. Guns pointed forward. Armor that looked like it could stop anything. And they were heading straight for the planet. "Sir," Hye-jin said, her voice shaking. "They're powering weapons. Get me Admiral Lee at Earth Command. Emergency channel." "Sir, it will take 20 minutes for the signal to reach Earth." "Do it anyway." Daeho turned to the helm officer. "Take us away from the planet. Best speed." The alien ships opened fire. The first blast hit the orbital mining platform. 500 workers were vaporized in an instant. The second blast took out the communication satellite. The third hit the New Busan. Daeho found himself on the floor. Emergency lights flashed red. The smell of burning electronics filled the air. "Report. Hull breach on Deck 7. We're losing atmosphere." The helm officer was bleeding from a cut on his forehead. "Engines are down to 40%. Hye-jin, did our message get out?" "Yes, sir, right before they hit the satellite." "Onabe?" The planet's surface, the real attack began. Beams of energy rained down from the sky. The main city of New Seoul disappeared in a flash of white light. The mining facilities melted like ice in summer. Dr. So-young Park's research station exploded just as she was helping Jun-ho reach the emergency shelter. The aliens were thorough. They didn't just attack the cities. They hunted down the farms, the small towns, even individual houses scattered across the continents. From space, it looked like someone was erasing humanity from the planet with careful, methodical strokes. The New Busan limped away from the carnage. Half the crew was dead. The ship was barely holding together. But Hye-jin kept transmitting. "This is civilian vessel New Busan. Taeyang 4 is under attack. Unknown alien force. 50,000 civilians. They're all dead. They're all dead." 20 light years away, Admiral Jin-woo Lee sat in his office at Earth Command. He was reviewing supply reports when the emergency signal came through. The aide who brought him the message was white as a sheet. "Sir, you need to hear this." The recording played. Hye-jin's voice, broken and desperate. "Taeyang 4 is under attack. Unknown alien force. They came without warning. No demands, no communication. They just started killing everyone." Jin-woo had served in the fleet for 40 years. He had been a young lieutenant during the last real war, back when humans fought each other over resources. That was before they learned to work together, before they became peaceful. "Confirm this," he said. "We've lost contact with 3 more colonies, sir. Hanul Station, New Mokpo, Kotsium Research Base. Same pattern. No warning. Total destruction." Jin Woo stood up slowly. He walked to his window and looked out at the earth. Blue skies, white clouds, green continents. Peaceful. "Sir, what are your orders?" Jin Woo turned back to his aide. The young man looked scared. Good. He should be scared. Everyone should be scared now. "Signal the Defense Council. Emergency session. Tell them we have a Code Black situation." "Sir, we haven't had a Code Black in 50 years. "I know." Jin Woo walked to his safe and entered a code he had memorized decades ago but never used. Inside was a single red key. "And tell Fleet Engineering to begin Thunder Soul activation procedures." "Sir, the Thunder Soul has been in mothballs since the Unification Wars ended." "I know. I was there when we decided to put it away." Jin Woo held up the key. "I was also there when we swore to bring it back if anyone ever threatened human civilians again." The aide looked at the key like it was a poisonous snake. "Sir, the Thunder Soul protocol was designed for human enemies. These are aliens. We don't know anything about them." "We know enough." Jin Woo's voice was cold now. "They attack civilians without warning. They kill children. They think humans are weak." He slotted the key into his desk terminal. "They're about to learn the difference between human peace and human weakness." Across the solar system, automated systems began to wake up. In the Titan shipyards, massive doors opened for the first time in 50 years. Lights came on in sections of the facility that had been dark for decades. Construction robots emerged from storage and began their work. The Thunder Soul battleship was 5 kilometers long and covered in armor that could stop planet-killing weapons. Its main guns could crack moons. Its engines could push it faster than light itself. And it had been sleeping, waiting for the day when humanity needed to remind the universe why peace was a choice, not a weakness. On the bridge of his damaged ship, Captain Dae-ho Kim watched the stars. Somewhere out there, the aliens were probably celebrating their easy victory. They had killed 50,000 humans and met no resistance. They probably thought Earth would surrender when they heard the news. "Captain," Ye-jin said, "I'm getting a signal from Earth Command. Put it through." Admiral Lee's face appeared on the screen. He looked older than Dae-ho remembered. Tired. But his eyes were hard as steel. "Captain Kim, this is Admiral Lee. We received your transmission. I want you to know that we will not forget what happened to Taeyangshir. We will not forget Dr. Park. We will not forget the 50,000 civilians who died today. Sir, what are your orders? Get your people to safety. Find a place to repair your ship. And then wait." "Wait for what, sir?" Admiral Lee's expression was like winter itself. "Wait for the Thunder Soul." The signal ended. In the darkness of space, the damaged New Busan continued its slow journey away from the dead world. Behind them, alien ships patrolled the ruins of human civilization like wolves guarding their kill. But the wolves had made a mistake. They had attacked the wrong species. They had killed human children and thought there would be no consequences. They had mistaken 50 years of peace for 50 years of weakness. Deep in the solar system, ancient weapons were waking up. The Thunder Soul battleship was being prepared for war. And when it launched, the galaxy would remember why humans had spent so much effort learning to be peaceful. Because when humans chose violence, they were very, very good at it. The Vorthak had wanted to see what humans looked like when they were angry. Soon they would get their wish, and they would regret it for the rest of their very short lives. Admiral Lee stood in his office, still holding the red key. Outside his window, Earth looked as peaceful as ever. But deep in the shipyards of Titan, something terrible and beautiful was being born. The Thunder Soul would wake soon. And when it did, the galaxy would learn that there were worse things than human peace. There was human war. The aliens had made their choice when they opened fire on civilians. Now humanity would make theirs. and the universe would never be the same. In the depths of space, the new Busan sent out one final transmission, not to Earth this time, but on all frequencies, in all languages. This is Captain Dae-ho Kim of Earth. 50,000 human civilians are dead. You killed our children, you destroyed our homes, you thought we were weak. There was a long pause. When Dae-ho spoke again, his voice was steady and calm. You were wrong. The message traveled outward at the speed of light. In a few hours, it would reach the nearest inhabited systems. In a few days, it would spread across the galaxy. And everywhere it went, species would begin to understand that something fundamental had changed. The humans were no longer peaceful. They were hunting. Captain Woo Jin Han stood at the edge of the observation deck and watched his ship come alive. The Thunder Soul had been sleeping in the Titan shipyards for 50 years. Now, kilometer by kilometer, it was waking up. Construction robots swarmed over the massive hull like metal insects. They removed the protective coating that had kept the ship safe during its long sleep. Beneath the gray covering, the real armor appeared. Black as space, harder than diamond, and covered with energy patterns that hurt to look at directly. It's bigger than I remembered, said Commander Mi Ra Song. She was young for a fleet officer, maybe 35. This would be her first assignment, on a battleship. Everything was bigger during the war, Woo Jin replied. We built things to last forever and kill anything. Did we really need something this large? Woo Jin looked at her. She had been born after the unification wars ended. Her generation had grown up in peace. They thought war was something that happened to other people in history books. We built the Thunder Soul to end wars, not fight them. The idea was simple. Build something so terrible that no one would ever want to fight us again. And it worked? For 50 years. Woo Jin turned back to watch the awakening ship. Until now? Deep inside the Thunder Soul, Chief Engineer Boram Yoon was having problems. The ship's systems were more complex than anything built before or since. Some of the technology had been experimental even during wartime. After 50 years of sleep, nothing was working properly. The quantum fold generators won't sync, reported her assistant Tae Min. The power flows are all wrong. That's because they were never meant to be turned off, Boram said. She was 60 years old and had worked on the Thunder Soul during its original construction. She knew every bolt and wire in the massive ship. These systems are alive. You don't shut them down and restart them like a regular engine. So what do? We wake them up slowly, like a person coming out of a long sleep. Boram touched a control panel. Deep in the ship's core, something that was part machine and part something else began to stir. Easy now. Remember who you are? On the command deck, Admiral Jin-Woo Lee was briefing the senior staff. Maps of the galaxy covered the walls. Red marks showed where human colonies had been attacked. The pattern was clear and brutal. 17 colonies destroyed in the last week, he said. No survivors, no communication attempts. They attack without warning and leave nothing alive. Who are they? Asked Captain Woo Jin Han. We call them the Vorthak. It's the closest we can come to pronouncing their name. They're a military confederation from the outer spiral. They've been conquering smaller species for centuries. What do they want? Near as we can tell, they want our space. Humans have been expanding for 300 years. We have good planets, rich systems, and useful trade routes. They probably see us as just another weak species to be removed. Commander Mi Ra Song studied the tactical displays. Sir, their technology looks advanced. Their ships are large and well-armed. How do we know we can beat them? The room went quiet. Admiral Lee looked at Captain Han. Han looked at the floor for a long moment. Commander, have you ever studied the Unification Wars? Of course, sir. Required reading at the Academy. Then you know that humans spent most of their history fighting each other. We got very good at it, too good. Yes, sir. What the history books don't tell you is why we really stopped fighting. It wasn't because we learned to love peace. It was because we got scared of ourselves. Han pointed to the Thunder Soul through the window. We built weapons that could crack planets, ships that could sterilize solar systems. We created things so terrible that we locked them away and swore never to use them again. But sir, those were for fighting other humans. These are aliens. Commander, the Thunder Soul wasn't designed to fight humans. It was designed to kill everything. BORAM finally got the main power systems online 6 hours later. The Thunder Soul's lights came on section by section. 5 kilometers of corridors, thousands of rooms, and weapons bays large enough to hold entire cruisers. The ship was a city that moved between the stars. Power at 60% and rising, she reported to the bridge. Quantum fold generators are syncing properly. The ship remembers how to be alive. What about the weapons? Asked Captain Han. The conventional weapons are ready. Plasma cannons, particle beams, kinetic railguns. Enough firepower to level a continent. And the special weapons? BORAM was quiet for a moment. Sir, are you sure we need to activate those systems? The conventional weapons should be enough for most situations. Chief, these aliens just killed 50,000 civilians, including children. I want every weapon on this ship ready to fire. Yes, sir. But Captain, some of these weapons, they're not meant for normal warfare. The Storm Protocol alone could... I know what it could do. I was there when we tested it. Activate everything. The Thunder Soul's crew was coming together slowly. Most of them were young officers who had never seen combat. They had trained for war in simulators and classrooms, but they had never faced an enemy that wanted to kill them. Lieutenant Yejin Lim was the new gunnery officer. She was 28 years old and had graduated first in her class from the Naval Academy. She had requested assignment to the Thunder Soul because she wanted to serve on the most powerful ship in the fleet. Now she stood in the main weapons control center and wondered if she had made a mistake. The room was huge. Dozens of control stations managed hundreds of different weapons. The targeting computers were so complex they seemed almost alive. Ma'am, said her chief petty officer, the main cannons are coming online. Yejin looked at the displays. The Thunder Soul carried 12 main guns, each one larger than most ships. When they fired, they didn't just destroy targets, they erased them from existence. Run a full diagnostic. I want every system checked twice. Yes, ma'am. But ma'am, why do we need so much firepower? The aliens have big ships, but nothing like this. Because, Chief, we're not just going to beat them. We're going to make sure they never want to fight humans again. Intelligence Officer Kyung-Soo Nam was studying the enemy. The surviving crews from the attacked colonies had provided some information about the Vorthak ships and tactics. It wasn't much, but it was a start. They're fast and well-coordinated, he reported to Captain Han. Their weapons are energy-based, probably plasma or particle beams. Their armor is thick but not exotic. Standard military protection. Numbers? We estimate about 200 ships in their main fleet, maybe 300 total across all their forces. Crew complement? Unknown. Their ships are large, so probably several thousand beings per vessel. Captain Han studied the data. 200 ships was a large force by human standards. During peacetime, the Earth fleet had maybe 50 active warships, but the Thunder Soul had been built to fight entire fleets by itself. What about their tactics? Simple and direct. They jump into a system, destroy everything quickly, and move on. No complex strategies. They seem to rely on overwhelming firepower and shock. That suggests they haven't fought anyone who could fight back effectively. Exactly, sir. They're used to easy victories. The Thunder Soul's first test came sooner than expected. A Vorthak patrol fleet was detected near the ruins of Taiyangfor. 3 ships, smaller than the main battle units, but still dangerous. This is perfect, Captain Han said. We can test our systems without committing to a major battle. The Thunder Soul jumped to the edge of the Taiyang system. The massive ship appeared out of nowhere, its black hull nearly invisible against the stars. The only lights came from the bridge and the glowing energy patterns that ran along the armor. The Vorthak ships detected them immediately. They turned to attack, probably thinking they were facing another human civilian vessel. Sir, they're charging weapons, reported Yejin Lim. Range to targets? 50,000 kilometers and closing. Fire 1 main cannon. Minimum power. The Thunder Soul's forward gun spoke once. A beam of pure energy crossed the distance between the ships in microseconds. It struck the lead Vorthak vessel dead center. The alien ship didn't explode. It didn't burn. It simply ceased to exist. Where there had been a kilometer of armor and weapons, now there was empty space. "What the hell?" whispered Commander Song. The other two Vorthak ships stopped their attack. They turned and fled at maximum speed. "Sir," said Yejin, "should I engage the fleeing vessels?" Captain Han watched the aliens run. Good. Fear was the beginning of wisdom. "No. Let them go. I want them to tell their friends what they saw." Back on the bridge, the crew was silent. They had all seen the weapon demonstrations during training, but seeing it used against a real target was different. The Thunder Souls. Main cannon didn't just destroy ships, it removed them from reality. "Chief Engineer," Captain Han said into his comm. "What's our status?" "All systems normal, sir. That shot used about 1% of our total power." "And the special weapons?" "Ready." "When you are, Captain, though I still think we should be careful about using them." "Noted. Stand by for jump to Earth orbit." The Thunder Soul folded space around itself and disappeared. Behind them, the empty spot where the Vorthak ship had been slowly filled with cosmic dust. Light years away, the surviving aliens sent desperate messages to their fleet commanders. They spoke of a human ship that appeared from nowhere and deleted their companion vessel with a single shot. They described, "The Thunder Soul moved through space like a black ghost." Captain Woojin Han stood on the bridge watching the tactical displays. Each red dot represented a Vorthak ship. Each one was a target. "Intelligence report," he ordered. Kyung-Soo Nam stepped forward with his data pad. "Sir, we've located the main Vorthak fleet. Approximately 150 ships gathered near the Hanyul system. They appear to be using the destroyed colony as a staging area." "What kind of ships?" "Mixed force. Heavy cruisers, destroyers, and support vessels. Their flagship is massive, sir. Nearly 3 kilometers long." "Crew estimates?" "Between 200 and 300,000 Vorthak total across the entire fleet." Commander Mi-Ra Song looked up from her station. "Sir, that's a lot of lives." Captain Han turned to look at her. His expression was cold. "Commander, they killed 50,000 human civilians, including children who had never hurt anyone. How many lives do you think their lives are worth?" "Sir, I didn't mean..." "The answer is 0, Commander. Their lives are worth exactly nothing." The bridge fell silent. This was the new reality. The old Captain Han, the peacetime officer who followed rules and worried about civilian casualties, was gone. What remained was something harder and infinitely more dangerous. "Gunnery Officer Lim, report to the bridge." Yejin Lim arrived within minutes. She had been working in the weapons bay, calibrating the targeting systems. The Thunder Soul's guns were more precise than anything ever built. They could hit a single building from 1,000,000 kilometers away. "Captain, all weapon systems are optimal." "Good. I want you to plan an engagement against 150 enemy ships." "Sir, all at once?" "Yes." "How long would it take to destroy the entire fleet?" Yejin thought for a moment. She had run similar calculations in the simulator, but never with real targets. "Sir, with conventional weapons, approximately 12 minutes. With special weapons..." She paused. 6 minutes, sir. Maybe less." "That seems excessive. We want them to suffer, not die instantly." "Yes, sir. Conventional weapons it is." War Prime Krulex stood in the command center of his flagship, the Void Render. Around him, his officers monitored the human fleet movements. The reports were troubling. The humans had only deployed 1 ship, but that ship was like nothing in their databases. "Status of our scouts?" he asked. "We have lost contact with patrol groups 7, 12, and 15, reported his intelligence officer. The last transmission from Group 15 showed a human vessel of unknown design." "Show me." The recording played on the main screen. A grainy image of the Thunder Soul appeared, its hull black against the stars. The image quality was poor, but the ship's massive size was clear. "How big is that vessel?" "Estimates range from 4 to 6 kilometers in length, War Prime. It appears to be heavily armed." "1 ship," Krulex said slowly. They send one ship against our entire fleet. Perhaps it is a negotiation vessel, suggested his tactical officer. Maybe they wish to surrender. Or maybe, said another voice, they think one ship is enough. Krulex turned to see who had spoken. It was Sub-Commander Vex, his youngest officer. Vex had studied human military history as part of his intelligence training. Explain. War Prime. The humans have an unusual approach to warfare. Most species build many small ships. Humans build fewer ships but make them much more powerful. This vessel may be their primary battle unit. One ship cannot defeat 150. With respect, sir, we thought 100 ships could not lose to unarmed civilians. We were wrong about human defenses. Krulex considered this. The young officer had a point. Every assumption they had made about humans had proven incorrect. They had expected easy surrender and found fierce resistance. They had expected weak defenses and found weapons that could erase ships from existence. Double our patrol coverage. I want to know where that ship is at all times. But the Thundersoul was already hunting. Captain Han had divided the Vorthak fleet into smaller groups and was eliminating them one by one. The tactic was simple, but effective. Jump in, destroy everything, jump out. No communication, no warning, no mercy. The first attack came at dawn, local time, near the outer edge of the Hanel system. A Vorthak patrol of 6 ships was conducting routine reconnaissance. The Thundersoul appeared behind them without warning. Targets acquired, reported Yejin Lim. Range, 15,000 kilometers. Fire. 6 beams of energy reached out from the Thundersoul. 6 Vorthak ships became expanding clouds of debris. The entire engagement lasted 8 seconds. Jump coordinates laid in, sir, reported the navigation officer. Execute. The Thundersoul vanished, leaving only wreckage and confusion. The second attack came 6 hours later. A supply convoy heading toward the main fleet found itself facing the massive human warship. The convoy had an escort of 12 destroyers. None of them survived. By the end of the first day, the Thundersoul had destroyed 47 Vorthak vessels. The aliens began to understand they were not fighting a battle. They were being hunted. War Prime, said the communications officer. We're receiving panic signals from across the fleet. Ships are requesting permission to withdraw. Withdraw. To where? Krulex demanded. That human ship can appear anywhere. Perhaps we should attempt communication. Try to understand what they want. We know what they want, said Sub-Commander Vex. They want us dead. On the Thundersoul, Intelligence Officer Kyung-Soo Nam was monitoring Vorthak communications. The EO quantum sensors could intercept their signals from across the system. What he heard made him smile for the first time in weeks. Captain, the enemy is in full panic. They're reporting that we can strike anywhere at any time. Some of their commanders are recommitting that their species fight an enemy like us. Good. Fear will make them sloppy. Sir, there's something else. They're trying to understand our capabilities. They don't know how we can appear and disappear so quickly. Let them wonder. Mystery is another weapon. The Thundersoul's next target was more challenging. A battle group of 24 heavy cruisers had formed a defensive formation near one of the system's moons. They were ready for attack, weapons charged and shields at maximum. Interesting, Captain Han said as he studied the tactical display. They're learning. Should we abort, sir? Asked Commander Song. No, but we'll try something different. Han turned to his gunnery officer. Lieutenant Lim, I want you to target their engines only. Disable them, don't destroy them. Sir, I want them alive for a while. Let them think about what's coming. The Thundersoul appeared directly above the Vorthak formation. The aliens opened fire immediately. Dozens of energy beams struck the human ship's shields. The Thundersoul barely noticed. Yejin Lim fired with surgical precision. 24 precise shots disabled 24 ships. The Vorthak vessels tumbled, helplessly, their engines destroyed but their life support intact. Now what, sir? She asked. Now we wait 5 minutes. Let them call for help. Let them realize no help is coming. Captain Han opened a communication channel to the disabled ships. He had never spoken to a Vorthak before, but their translation software was excellent. Vorthak vessels, this is Captain Wu Jin Han of the Earth vessel Thunder Soul. You have 5 minutes to send messages to your families. Tell them you died because your leaders chose to murder human children. The channel closed. On the disabled ships, panic spread. Some Vorthak tried to repair their engines. Others sent desperate messages to their homeworlds. A few simply waited for death. After exactly 5 minutes, the Thunder Soul fired again. This time, it did not aim to disable. War Prime Krulex watched his fleet disappear ship by ship. The humans were not just defeating his forces, they were playing with them. The psychological effect was devastating. His crew jumped at shadows. Officers questioned every order. How many ships have we lost, he asked. 73 confirmed, destroyed War Prime. Another 12 disabled and presumed lost. In how much time? 36 hours, sir. Krulex sat down heavily in his command chair. At this rate, his entire fleet would be gone within a week. And they had not managed to inflict a single casualty on the human ship. Sir, we're receiving a priority transmission from the Confederacy Council. Put it through. The face of Supreme War Leader Threx appeared on the screen. Threx was old, scarred, and had conquered a dozen species. He had never lost a battle. Krulex, explain your situation. Supreme Leader, we are facing unexpected resistance. The humans have deployed a weapon platform of unprecedented capability. One ship, Krulex. You are telling me that one ship is defeating our entire invasion fleet? Yes, sir. Their technology is far beyond our estimates. Threx was silent for a long moment. How is this possible? Our intelligence indicated that humans were weak, peaceful. They showed no resistance to our initial attacks. I believe, sir, that we misunderstood the nature of human peace. They were not weak. They were choosing not to fight. Now they have chosen differently. Recommendations? Krulex looked around his command center. His officers were watching, waiting to see if their leader could find a way out of the trap they had walked into. Sir, I recommend immediate withdrawal. This species is more dangerous than we anticipated. Unacceptable. The Confederacy has never retreated from inferior beings. You will destroy this human ship and continue the invasion as planned. Sir, with respect, that may not be possible. Make it possible, War Prime, or find someone who can. The Storm Protocol was humanity's most terrible secret. Chief Engineer Boram Yoon remembered the day they had tested it, 20 years before the wars ended. They had chosen an empty system, nothing but a dead star and floating rocks. When the test was finished, even the rocks were gone. Captain, she said over the intercom, Storm Protocol is ready. But sir, once we activate this, there's no going back. The energy signature will be visible from halfway across the galaxy. Captain Wu Jin, Han stood on the bridge of the Thunder Soul, watching the Vorthak fleet assemble in defensive formation. 78 ships arranged in a perfect sphere around their flagship. They thought numbers would save them. Chief, how many people are on those ships? Approximately 150,000, sir. And how many humans did they kill? 50,000 confirmed dead across 17 colonies, sir. Then we're still being generous. Activate the Storm Protocol. The Thunder Soul began to change. Energy patterns that had been dim now blazed with white light. The ship's hull started to vibrate as systems that had slept for decades came online. In the weapon bays, devices that bent space and time prepared for activation. Gunnery Officer Yejin Lim watched her displays with growing concern. The power readings were beyond anything she had trained for. Sir, the weapon systems are drawing power directly from the main reactors. If something goes wrong, nothing will go wrong, Lieutenant. The Storm Protocol has been tested. Yes, sir. But sir, what exactly does it do? Captain Han looked at her. It turns an entire region of space into a killing field. Anything within 50,000 kilometers of us will cease to exist. War Prime Krulex felt the change in space itself. His sensors detected massive energy buildups from the human ship. Whatever they were planning, it was drawing more power than his entire fleet combined. Analysis, he demanded. Unknown War Prime. Our computers cannot classify the energy signature. It's unlike anything in our databases. Recommendations? Immediate. Withdrawal, sir. Whatever they're preparing, we should not be here when it activates. We cannot withdraw. The Confederacy expects victory. Sir, the Confederacy expects us to survive long enough to achieve victory. Krulex looked at his tactical officer. The younger Vorthak was right, but admitting it meant acknowledging that their entire invasion had been a mistake. Pride warred with survival instinct. Pride lost. All ships begin withdrawal. Maximum speed. But it was too late. The Thunder Soul activated the Storm Protocol. Space itself screamed. Reality twisted as the Thunder Soul's weapon system reached into the foundation of physics and broke several important laws. What happened next was difficult to describe in normal language. The area around the Thunder Soul became a storm of energy and matter. Quantum fields collapsed and reformed. Gravity became a suggestion rather than a law. Time moved differently, in different places, and everything else in that region of space simply stopped existing. The Vorthak ships didn't explode. They didn't burn. They didn't even have time to send distress signals. One moment they were there, the next moment they were not. 78 ships and 150,000 lives became nothing more than empty space. Storm Protocol. Deactivated, reported Boram Yun. All systems normal. Captain Han looked at the tactical display. Where the Vorthak fleet had been, there was now nothing. Not even debris. The Storm Protocol had erased them so completely that it was as if they had never existed. Sir, whispered Commander Song, what have we done? We've sent a message, Han replied. To every species in the galaxy. News of the Battle of Hunyul spread quickly. The Galactic Communications Network carried the story to every inhabited system within days. Most species refused to believe it. At first, one ship destroying an entire fleet was impossible. Then the recordings arrived. A cargo hauler had been passing through a nearby system when the Storm Protocol activated. Their long-range sensors captured the entire event. The footage showed the Vorthak fleet assembling, the Thunder Soul approaching, and then nothing. Just empty space where 150 ships had been. Elder Council Speaker Mithros watched the recording for the 20th time. He was over 800 years old and had seen many wars, but he had never seen anything like this. How is such a weapon possible? He asked his science advisor. We don't know, Speaker. Our physicists believe they somehow weaponized quantum field collapse. The mathematics alone should be impossible. And this ship, the Thunder Soul, it survived its own weapon? Apparently, the energy readings suggest they have some form of protection we don't understand. Mithros sat back in his chair. The Elder Council had maintained galactic peace for centuries through careful diplomacy and the threat of collective action. Now, one species had weapons that made all their carefully balanced treaties meaningless. Contact the human government, immediately. Speaker, we've been trying. They're not responding to any diplomatic channels. What about the ship itself? The Thunder Soul has not acknowledged any communication attempts. Then they intend to continue hunting. So it appears, Speaker. Ambassador Yunji Shin received her orders while serving at the Earth Embassy on Centauri Prime. She was a career diplomat who had spent 20 years building relationships with alien species. Her job was to maintain the peaceful contact that humans had enjoyed since first contact. Now her orders were very different. You will establish a new diplomatic protocol, Admiral Lee told her over the encrypted channel. Every species that wants to maintain relations with humanity will acknowledge that human space is absolutely inviolate. Any attack on human civilians will result in immediate and total retaliation. Sir, that's essentially demanding submission from the entire galaxy. Yes, it is. Sir, what if they refuse? What if other species decide that humans have become too dangerous? Then they can ask, the Vorthak, what happens when you threaten humans? Admiral Lee's expression was granite. Oh, wait. They can't. Because the Vorthak no longer exist. The Thunder Soul continued its hunt. Across 3 star systems, any ship flying Vorthak colors was destroyed on sight. Captain Han had divided his crew into hunting teams. Each team tracked different groups of fleeing aliens. "Sir," reported Kyung-Soo Nam, "we've detected a group of Vorthak ships attempting to reach neutral space. 12 vessels heading for the Calarian trade zone. Intercept course. We can't let them escape to threaten other species." "Sir, the Calarians are asking for clarification of our intentions. They're worried about their sovereignty. Tell them we have no quarrel with Calarian civilians. We're simply removing a pest problem." The Thunder Soul jumped ahead of the fleeing Vorthak ships. When the aliens dropped out of faster-than-light travel, they found the massive human warship waiting for them. This time Captain Han opened communications. "Vorthak vessels, this is Captain Han. You attacked human civilians. You killed human children. You thought humans were weak." On the lead Vorthak ship, the commander tried to respond. "Human captain, we wish to negotiate. There will be no negotiation. There will be no mercy. There will be no survivors." The Thunder Soul fired. 12 ships became cosmic dust. The Calarian observers watched in silence. The human ship had destroyed the Vorthak vessels so quickly they barely had time to register the attack, and it had done so without causing any damage to Calarian space or property. "Calarian trade zone, this is Captain Han of the Thunder Soul. The pest removal is complete. You may resume normal operations." The humans departed as quickly as they had arrived. Behind them, the Calarians began to understand that the balance of power in the galaxy had shifted permanently. Across known space, governments held emergency sessions. Military commanders studied the recordings of human weapons. Scientists tried to understand how the Storm Protocol was possible. Everyone reached the same conclusion. Humanity had been peaceful by choice, not necessity. War Prime Krulex found himself in command of the last intact Vorthak force. 37 ships hiding in the outer system, trying to avoid the Thunder Soul's sensors. His officers were terrified. Half of them wanted to surrender. The other half wanted to run to the edge of the galaxy. "War Prime, we could contact their government directly, offer full reparations for the colonies we destroyed, and admit that the Confederacy was wrong to attack them." "Sir, the Confederacy no longer exists. Half our worlds have declared independence, rather than face human retaliation. The other half are demanding your removal from command." Krulex looked at his tactical displays. Where once he had commanded 300 ships and been the terror of lesser species, now he hid with a handful of survivors afraid to move. "Sir, there's something else. Our long-range sensors have detected other human ships. Dozens of them, all heading toward Confederacy space." "What kind of ships?" "Unknown design, sir. But if they're anything like the Thunder Soul..." Krulex closed his eyes. He had started this war thinking humans were weak prey. Now his entire species faced extinction because of his mistake. "Open a channel to the human ship." "Sir?" "I said open a channel. It's time to end this." The Thunder Soul received the transmission while hunting the last Vorthak supply depot. Captain Han listened to War Prime Krulex's words without expression. "Human Commander, I am War Prime Krulex of the Vorthak Confederacy. I wish to discuss terms of surrender." Han looked around his bridge. His crew was waiting to see how he would respond. The Thunder Soul arrived at Vorthak Prime like a dark moon. The planet below was beautiful in the way that most inhabited worlds were beautiful. Blue oceans, white clouds, green continents dotted with cities. 8 billion Vorthak lived on the surface, most of them civilians who had never even heard of humans until the war began. Captain Wu Jin Han stood on the bridge and looked down at the world that had sent killers to murder human children. Part of him wanted to activate the Storm Protocol and erase the entire planet. It would be justice, it would be final, and it would send a message that no species would ever forget, but it would also make him a monster. "Sir," said Intelligence Officer Kyung-Soo Nam, "we're receiving thousands of transmissions from the surface, surrender offers, peace proposals, requests for mercy. Any word from their government?" "The Confederacy Council has been dissolved, sir. The planet is under emergency civilian administration. They're asking for terms." Commander Mira Song looked up from her station. "Sir, what are your intentions?" Han was quiet for a long moment. Below them, 8 billion lives waited to see if humanity would choose mercy or vengeance. The choice would define what humans became in the galaxy. Open a channel to the planet. Channel open, sir. People of Vorthak Prime, this is Captain Woojin Han of the Earth vessel Thundersoul. Your military forces attacked human civilians without warning or cause. They killed 50,000 innocent people, including children. On the planet below, every communication device carried his words. Vorthak families gathered around their screens waiting to hear their fate. Your War Prime Krulex and his officers will be tried for war crimes. Your military fleet has been destroyed. Your government has fallen. You are now under human protection. Protection, whispered Commander Song. Han continued his broadcast. The species that chose to make war on humans will now learn what human peace actually means. You will be relocated to suitable worlds under human supervision. You will rebuild your civilization under human law. And you will never again threaten any innocent species, he paused. This is not negotiable, but it is mercy. More mercy than you showed our children. The channel closed. On the planet below, 8 billion Vorthak began to understand that their world had changed forever. 6 months later, Ambassador Yoonji Shin stood in the Grand Assembly of the Elder Council. The massive chamber held representatives from 200 species. All of them were staring at her with a mixture of fear and respect. The question before this assembly, said Speaker Mithros, is how to integrate humanity into the existing galactic order. Yoonji smiled politely. Speaker Mithros, I believe you misunderstand the situation. Humanity is not seeking to integrate into the existing order. We are announcing the new order. The chamber erupted in angry voices. Representative after representative stood to protest. Humans were newcomers to galactic politics. They had no right to dictate terms to ancient civilizations. Yoonji waited for the noise to die down. When it was quiet again, she activated a holographic display. The image showed the Thundersoul battleship floating in space near the council station. This is the Thundersoul. It is currently in orbit around this station. Its weapons are powered down, but they remain operational. Are you threatening this assembly? Demanded the Kildarian representative. No. I am explaining reality. Yoonji touched a control, and the display changed. Now it showed the empty space where the Vorthak fleet had been destroyed. The Vorthak Confederacy believed they could attack human civilians without consequences. They learned otherwise. She changed the image again. This time it showed Vorthak refugees being relocated to supervised worlds. Their survivors now live under human protection. They are fed, housed, and safe. But they are also watched. They will never again have the opportunity to threaten innocent lives. What does humanity want from the rest of us? Asked Speaker Mithros. Simple. Human space is inviolate. Any attack on human civilians will result in immediate and total retaliation. In exchange, humanity will respect the sovereignty of all peaceful species. And if we refuse these terms? Yoonji looked around the chamber. Then you can ask the Vorthak what refusal means. Oh wait, you can't. Their government no longer exists. The assembly was silent. Outside, the Thundersoul waited like a sleeping predator. Fleet Admiral Min Ho Che took command of the expanded human fleet from his flagship, the New Harmony. Unlike the Thundersoul, it was a ship built for peacetime. Diplomatic missions, humanitarian aid, trade protection. But even the New Harmony carried weapons that could level cities. Admiral, reported his aide, we've received requests for human protection from 12 species in the past month. What kind of protection? The usual. Pirates, territorial disputes, aggressive neighbors. They want human ships to patrol their space. And our response? We provide protection in exchange for favorable trade agreements and diplomatic recognition of our territorial claims. Minho nodded. It was a good arrangement. Humanity got what it wanted through the threat of force rather than the use of it. Much more efficient than actually fighting wars. Any word from the Thundersoul? Captain Han is still refusing promotion and transfer orders. He says his job isn't finished. What job? The Vorthak are defeated. Unknown, sir. He won't explain. The Thundersoul patrolled the edge of human space like a guard dog. Captain Han had reduced his crew to a skeleton team of volunteers. Commander Song had transferred to a regular fleet assignment. Most of the original crew had requested new postings after the war ended. Only the core group remained. Han himself, Boram Yoon, Yejin Lim, and Kyung-Soo Nam. They called themselves the Watchers. Their job was to make sure no one forgot what happened when humans were threatened. "Sir," said Kyung-Soo, "we're receiving a distress call from the new Shanghai colony. They report unknown ships in their system." "Identification?" "Unknown species." "Sir, they're calling themselves the hegemony of Rix." Han looked at the tactical display. Another aggressive species looking for easy prey. They probably had no idea what had happened to the Vorthak. "Set course for New Shanghai. Best speed." "Yes, sir." The Thunder Soul jumped to faster than light speed. Across the galaxy, automated systems detected the massive energy signature and updated their tracking databases. Governments that monitored human fleet movements noted the Thunder Soul's destination and began preparing formal statements of non-involvement. The hegemony of Rix had never heard of humans. They were a young species, aggressive and expanding rapidly. When their scouts found the new Shanghai colony, they saw easy conquest. A single world, lightly defended, far from any major fleet bases. Their attack fleet was smaller than the Vorthak force had been. Only 20 ships. But they approached the human colony with the same arrogance that had doomed their predecessors. "Human settlement, this is Fleet Commander Zix of the hegemony of Rix. You will surrender your world immediately or face destruction." The colonial governor, Park Sung-min, had been warned about the approaching alien fleet. He also knew about the Thunder Soul. His response was calm and confident. "Rix vessels, this is Governor Park of New Shanghai. You are hereby ordered to leave human space immediately. This is your only warning." Commander Zix laughed. "Human, you are in no position to give orders. Surrender or die. As you wish." The Thunder Soul appeared. Commander Zix had perhaps 3 seconds to register the massive human warship before his fleet ceased to exist. 20 ships became expanding clouds of plasma. The engagement lasted longer than usual because Captain Han chose to destroy them one by one rather than using area weapons. He wanted the galaxy to see exactly what happened to species that threatened humans. "New Shanghai, this is Captain Han. The pest problem has been resolved. Thank you, Thunder Soul. Governor Park sends his regards." The Thunder Soul vanished back into faster-than-light travel. Behind it, 20 expanding debris clouds marked where another species had learned the lesson too late. News of the Rix fleet's destruction spread even faster than the Vorthak incident had. This time, there was no disbelief. The pattern was clear. Humans had moved beyond peace into something else entirely. Species that had been planning their own expansion into human space quietly canceled those plans. Trade routes that had been encroaching on human territory were rerouted. Governments that had been ignoring human diplomatic messages suddenly became very responsive. Dr. Hana Kim worked at the Galactic Studies Institute on Earth. Her job was to monitor alien reactions to human policies. The data she collected painted a clear picture. "Admiral Lee, sir, I think you should see this report." Jinwoo Lee took the data pad and read through Dr. Kim's findings. Charts showed alien fleet movements, trade patterns, and diplomatic communications. Everything pointed to the same conclusion. "They're afraid of us." "Yes, sir. Not just wary or respectful, actually afraid. Several species have relocated their home fleets specifically to avoid human patrol routes. The Zalarian Empire canceled a century-old expansion plan because it would bring them within 50 light-years of human space. Good. Fear will keep them honest." "Sir, there's something else. We're detecting significant military buildups in remote systems. Species that were previously peaceful are suddenly building warships." "Against each other?" "We don't think so, sir. The pattern suggests they're preparing for the possibility of human expansion." Admiral L.